Hello and welcome to my Poison Freeze build video. The build that I'm about to show you has more of a tactician playstyle to it. Unlike the mobility rogue where you're zipping in and out of combat, instead you'll be approaching in stealth, preparing the battlefield before you engage. It has a lot of crowd control which will stop enemies from attacking you. It's also very tanky and has high damage. You can even take on Lilith with this build just from switching a few gear pieces and a few skill points. I've left a link in the description below with the build planner, so this video is going to be more of an explanation on why I chose certain things and what you need to make this build work. The core of this build is freezing traps, so when you place traps down, enemies caught in it will get stun locked, taking them out of the fight. For this you're going to need two aspects, one malignant heart and one unique item. First aspect is the infiltrators aspect. This is a drop only aspect and it allows you to place 4 traps during stealth, each adding 5 seconds to your cooldown. Because of this, when there's not many monsters about, I advise only putting up to 3 traps so you have your trap cooldown ready for when you want to use your concealment again. The malignant heart you're going to need is cluster munitions. It's a vicious heart that gives you a 20% chance to spawn grenades from any damage, including your poison ticks and your poison traps. Coupled with your second aspect, frostbitten, which is a utility slot and a drop only, this allows your grenades to freeze enemies that are chilled, including your cluster munitions. Lastly, the unique boots, penitent greaves. This is going to be your source of chill, and whilst you're running through enemies placing traps, you'll be chilling them at the same time. Now on to the core damage items and aspects you'll need for this build. Firstly, you're going to need bursting venoms aspect. This is an offensive aspect, also a drop only. It's the bread and butter of all poison builds. When you crit, it has a chance to spawn a poison pool at the enemy's feet. When you stand in this poison abuse will no longer trigger any charges, so you can keep applying it over and over again, doing a huge amount of damage. This can proc off your next aspect you'll need, the blade dancers aspect, which you can find in the codex. These spawn twirling blades around your character with a delay. They will also apply poison imbuement, allowing you to rack up crazy amounts of damage. The wrathful malignant heart, creeping death. This is going to make your poisons tick for insane amount of damage, getting stronger with each crowd control you apply. And with this build, you'll be applying 6 different types of crowd control. The last 2 offensive aspects you'll want is accelerating and corruption. Accelerating is best put on your ranged weapon because more speed means faster application of crowd controls, proccing lucky hits and energy regeneration. Shared misery is the last utility aspect you'll need, which I like to put on gloves. This is the aspect that will allow you to spread crowd control around you as you fight. Very important to keep everything locked into place, and more CCs mean more damage from your creeping death. And a quick note on the gloves, it's important to have chance to slow on your gloves, as this allows you to apply another CC as well as activate one of the nodes on the Paragon board that will give you more damage reduction. The stats that are going to boost your damage in this build are going to be core and vulnerable. Core increases the damage of your poison imbuement by an absurd amount. I'm not exactly why it does this, but a lot of people have tested it and it almost triples your poison imbue damage. So this is a main focus to have on your weapons, core. Vulnerable, I don't really need to explain much about vulnerable. The other stat I like to go for is crit damage. Crit damage doesn't actually increase your poison damage. However, there are times when your poison imbuement's not going to be up, and that's where crit damage helps. It helps you clear out weaker enemies without having to waste your poison imbuement. So that's why I advise going for crit damage. But if you can't go for crit damage, close damage is also good because it will apply to everything that you do. Now the weapons, I've actually gone for sword and dagger mainly for style points. Both have the pros and cons. Daggers are a lot faster. Swords do more upfront damage. With swords you can take advantage of the weapon mastery passive, which I don't use in this build right now, but you can if you want. So you can't really go wrong with both weapons, so it's totally up to you. Now moving on to the defensive side of things, there's 2 main aspects that you're going to want. The first one is Stolen Vigor, which is a constant stream of HP regeneration. It's very powerful. The bad thing about this is that it's a drop only aspect, and also it scales off the item power of the item you got it from. So you're going to have varying different HP values. The highest one I've got is 340, but it can probably go up higher. The next one is Disobedience. This is going to help you reach armor cap. With the Paragon you'll be using and with the right item selection, you'll be able to hit the armor cap if you put this on your amulet, which is where I've put it. I want to quickly go over the stats that you should be going for. So firstly, plus armor on every single possible piece. This is going to be the main contribution to your tankiness when going higher tiers. Movement speed is important in this build, so you can travel further distances during concealment. This will allow you to place traps in better positions and give you more breathing space. Damage reduction whilst injured. This is a personal taste and I think it's amazing. So it kicks in at 35% and you get a huge amount of damage reduction that will basically save your ass. It gives you breathing space to pop your potions, and it's also possible to go for ruby gems instead of topaz gems in your defensive slots, because it increases the threshold of when this damage reduction will kick in. Now you're going to have one more slot for a defensive aspect, and there's two choices you can go for here, either Might or Umbrus. Both have the pros and cons. Might is more consistent in heat of battle. It's a solid 20% damage reduction. Umbrus can give you up to 40% damage reduction with 5 shades, which helps you when initiating fights, eating certain one-shot mechanics, but if you get hit a lot, it's not going to help you too much. That's why I recommend going with Might if you're leveling up. When you start doing tier 100s, then you can think about switching to Umbrus, but Might is a solid pick. I'll have a pinned comment below that will list all the aspects and where you can get them from. Now with the skills here, I'll try and be brief and I'll only go over the ones where you think why I chose this one over another. So firstly, I've got improved twisting blades over advanced, simply because this is going to be a reliable way to apply daze. This will help you get momentum quicker and spread CC faster. 1 point into rapid gambit so you can get your evade back. This build doesn't have dash by default, so this is a great way to get your evade back. Just 2 points in trick attack, not too long and not too short, another form of crowd control. 3 in concussive for more crits to proc the poison pool. Subverting stealth. Even though you got exploit in this build, it's still very strong. When you engage in stealth, open up with twisting blades, and your twirling blades will also apply 6 seconds of vulnerability when they hit at delayed intervals, so you're going to have very good vulnerable uptime with this. So smoke grenade will be your flex spot. You could go for dash or shadow step, but me personally, I love smoke grenade because it can serve the same function as dash, where if you want to move to a certain location you can use smoke grenade to immobilize them and cover the distance safely. But most importantly, you can use it both offensively and defensively. So offensively, you're going to get a 20% damage multiplier, which is a huge bonus if you want to clear something out really quickly. So for example, you're in a group of elites and this is a really dangerous situation, just throw this out and burn them down quick. Another great thing, it's got huge range, so if there's a group of elites and you don't want to take them all on, you could chuck this and split the pack so only a few of them come at you. Now with the Paragon board, I spent a lot of time with this and it's very well optimized. The great thing about this board is you only need one dex weapon to hit the important nodes. So you don't need a bunch of items that have all stats or multiple dex weapons. All the ones that you're going to be hitting are the important ones. There are a few others, but it's really not worth sacrificing a stat to unlock those nodes. As you can see here, you can hit all these nodes with minimal investment. So with the glyphs, there's a few variations you could go for here. Instead of versatility, which gives you 15% extra damage on all your non-core and non-basic skills, so basically everything that's not twisting blades or your puncture will do increased damage. The other alternative is Devious, which will apply a stack and debuff up to 5 times, 10% more damage on everything every time you CC. But you CC a lot, so it's very easy to get 4 stacks on this. Another glyph you can change in this build is Tracker for Combat if you're not actively pushing higher tier content. Another glyph that is very strong is Control, which gives you 10% extra damage against slowed and chilled enemies and 20% increased damage against stunned and frozen enemies. And that pretty much wraps up everything in this build. If you have any further questions, post them in the comments below. If you have any criticisms about this build, I'd love to hear them too. Hope this has been helpful and thanks for your time.